Good morning to all our viewers. We have our special guest for today, the former head of the Community Relations Division in ASEAN Secretariat, covering the region for many years, over a decade. So that's the 10 ASEAN member states and other stakeholders and partners in the region. So we are very blessed to have his presence in this channel for today. So perhaps, Romeo, you can also introduce yourself to our viewers.
Thank you, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world watching this show. I'm very pleased and delighted to be here. As Cecilia mentioned, I used to work for the ASEAN Secretariat for 11 years, and before that, I worked with an international organization based in Kuala Lumpur, covering advocacy for that international organization. And before that, I was in Bangkok, again, doing grants management advocacy for an international organization. So that's life for me for the last couple of decades.
Wow. So I'm very excited and glad that you are here in this episode, your show for today. So let's start off with a question. What problem did you experience before starting your career? And why was it such a big deal that you went looking for a solution when you did?
Okay, so well, first of all, I think we need to establish what career we're talking about. Okay, so well, I can tell you that this career is in the area of public diplomacy, and for those who are probably not familiar with what public diplomacy is, it's about this is the work that organizations or countries or governments do in order to, enlighten people about the values that they stand for, about the policies that they push, and then trying to promote awareness about, this particular country or organization in order to create understanding as well as, harmony. So I am essentially a communicator. And I thought that I think I can use this skill to good use if I lend, whatever knowledge I have into something that will make a difference in the lives of people. And I looked at ASEAN because, the Philippines, being a Filipino, we're part of this organization. And I thought, in my heart, I know ASEAN is doing something, but I don't fully understand. And I ask people around me, they also don't have a clear idea of, what this organization is doing. Things are quite nebulous and people don't seem to have a grasp of, what ASEAN stands for. All they know is all those meetings, all the shaking of hands, etc. So I think the problem for me was at the time, um, how can people get to know the good things? I'm sure ASEAN is doing good things. What ASEAN is doing and what it is not doing. Because a lot of people, I think, have some, expectations. Some are correct, some are not. And the problem is this disconnect, between the reality of what ASEAN is doing and people's perception. So to me, that was a big deal because if ASEAN is going to succeed, then I will be a part of it because my country is part of it. And I'm sure my family, my relatives would benefit. So I told myself, why not be a part of this, organization and help them with, with their public diplomacy. So yeah, to me, I think that was the problem, the gap between, what is the true character of ASEAN and what people know about it.
So if I may ask again, why did you choose that career?
Yeah, well, you know, in my choice of job and ergo my career, I have always wanted to do something that, first of all, I am gifted, to do, and also something that I would love to do because it's important. you have to be able to enjoy what you're doing. Otherwise, you'll burn out. Otherwise, you'll give up. And finally, and to me, this is the most important thing, that I am able to make a difference in the lives of people. That's why my very first job, was with a nonprofit organization doing a rural development project in Palawan in the Philippines. And we were helping indigenous families, those who can't read and write, to have some basic literacy, et cetera, access to health. And so that has been my objective ever since. I've always wanted, to be able to help people with my career. So to me, it's not just to make a living, but also to help others improve their lives as well. That's why I chose this career. I think I can be useful, in terms of building good relations amongst people. And to me, this is on a wider and higher scale. That's why I opted to pursue this career.
So how did your career solve a problem you were experiencing, and how did you choose or implement that solution?
Mhm. Well, you see, um, with the work, that I had. So as you introduced, I was head of the community relations division, and that gave me the platform to actually be able to communicate to our audience, to the peoples of ASEAN, what is this organization doing in simple terms, like in layman's term. Well, you are a part of ASEAN, okay? And you know how ASEAN speaks. It's always in acronyms. It's always in this, the safe and very politically correct, terms. But to some people, they sound Greek, or to many people, they don't know exactly what those words are. And so when I was with as a secretariat, my day-to-day job really was to, explain to people through social media, even through events, what, what do those meetings mean for people? When there is a meeting of, let's say, the senior officials on, say, education, or senior officials on this and that sector, health, when they meet to know what is it that people on the street can really get out, of these meetings. Because in that way, people can truly understand what is ASEAN doing for me, for my life, for my community. And then hopefully that will spark, a sense of ownership, and push them into being a part of this project, this project called ASEAN Community. And so we get, you know, during my time there, we were able to explain to people what those meetings are all about, what people can get out of this and that project. And I believe somehow that helped to, bridge the gap between, what ASEAN is doing and what people don't understand about it, about ASEAN. And as you can probably see on our social media, there are now what, over 1 million followers altogether, But when I started, I don't know if you were there already, like 2013. When I started, we didn't have a decent, Facebook account, or even, at the time it's Twitter, it's not X, but at the time, whatever was posted on the website is automatically pushed to the Twitter. And so what you get on the Twitter is like the headline of the, of the press release, which doesn't make sense to people. So what I can tell you in short is that this career, that I got into, I think it helped to create some understanding and some awareness. I'm not saying that everybody now in ASEAN understands, fully understands what ASEAN is doing, but I can say there has been some, progression, as we can see, in the way that people are now interacting with us and the way that they ask questions, meaning there's some awareness that has happened. So that's it.
Yeah, I actually started 1 year ahead of you in ASEAN Secretariat in 2012.
Ah,
Yeah, so I can attest to that our social media platform was not that active back then.
yep,
And then
yep,
ASEAN Secretariat was blessed by your presence there. And we now
mm,
have a very active social media presence.
yeah.
So we are so glad for your skills, talents, and gifts that you have given to the region for
Yeah.
over a decade. So I hope you can still continue with that, even in consulting capacity.
Sure.
Were there any support features or relationship that you love, and how did it feel to get help?
You mean while I was there in ASEAN Secretariat?
And all throughout your life or career?
Mm. The help. Okay. Well, when I speak here, it's not that I am claiming, all of the credits. No. Um, the reason why I was able to do that is because, as you correctly pointed out, there was a good support system that I, got to benefit from during my time. And I can say this is support, up and down the line, as well as, horizontal support. You see, um, wherever we go, whether it's work, whether in the family, nobody should walk his or her journey alone. We always have to, collaborate because there's value in collaboration. So I'm blessed to be able to work with a boss who, people probably might not totally get him, or understand. But I can tell you, he was very supportive. He understood, what I was trying to bring, and he was always very, understanding, supportive. I can say 100%. Plus, of course, the staff that I got to work with, and then I think what's important is the support that I have in my from my family. I'm happy to have, and I'm blessed to have a very supportive, loving wife. So whenever I had some serious problems with ASEC, working with ASEC is not all fun and, glamour and all that. So I had some serious issues too, work related, and I'm glad, I have a partner, I have a wife that I can share some of these burdens too. So it's important, to have that kind of support around you, at the personal level, even at the professional level, and then of course a community. I mean the larger community. So when I was there in Jakarta, I'm part of a small group. It's a it's church based. We meet once every Friday, but that also becomes a source of moral support. So I think it's important that you surround yourself with this kind of people, and of course you also have I have some really close friends. So when I'm feeling kind of troubled or need some ears to listen, you can always count on them. So yeah, I had those kind of support around me, and those who really helpful.
100% agree on that. So you are
Yeah,
very blessed indeed. So
yeah,
what are
yeah.
your goals as a professional?
Yeah. Well, right now, because I have concluded my work, I'm still, in this process of really finding a niche. But my prayer and what I'm doing is to be able to help leaders. It could be leaders in the church, it could be leaders of organizations like youth organizations, or it could be leaders in the schools, etc., or even organizations to become more strategic in what they're doing. Meaning, I want to be able to help these people to be clear about where they want to go, what they want to achieve, provide them with some tools, provide them, with some knowledge, information, and then, you know, get them into some process of really thinking through, and then hopefully make a difference in the way that they manage their, programs or projects, in the way that they manage their organizations, and in the process, make a difference in their own circles. That's why I'm into consultancy right now. And then I have just facilitated the annual planning of our church. And then hopefully more opportunities like this, will come. In fact, next month I'm supposed to run a workshop on creative writing among, people within the church. This is a group of writers. So these are the things that I love to do, and hopefully I continue, on this track, more or less.
That's very good news indeed, and I hope to collaborate with you on that matter in the future.
Sure.
I have some ideas how to go about
Yeah,
it, but we'll discuss it in another session. So,
sure.
are you comfortable sharing data or metrics demonstrating success, and what does success mean to you?
Okay. So let me just put something forward, okay? And this is a caveat that whatever metrics I share, again, I don't claim, full credit for this. If I share something, that sounds, oh, that's a great achievement. Again, this is not, just my own effort. It's a team effort. But I think my job was I planted the seeds, you said you were in ASEC 2012, I was there 2013. And during the time, you probably wouldn't see, a decent post on Facebook or a decent post on Twitter. None, zero. Okay. But when I started, I single-handedly run, manage our Facebook account, and then transition into a more decent Twitter account, So I stopped, this auto push, because whatever, gets published on the website becomes the content of the Twitter. And that's not how it works, right? So I stopped that practice, and then I came up with fresh content. I was doing it single-handedly. In ASEC, we don't have that many staff, right? Everyone has to juggle with so many things. So I started creating, or even um, putting into motion a plan, a framework for how we will do our social media. We came up, with some content planning activities. We came up with branding, and we came up with the voice. Like how are we gonna speak, as an organization, and make sure that we have those. So what I'm saying is, I planted the seeds, and then, of course, somebody had to nurture, somebody had to, cultivate, water the seeds, and let them grow. And so I think what I've done is, yeah, I did that, and now we can see the flowering, we can see the blooming of all that we did. So where are we at right now? Well, now ASEAN Facebook has what? Nearly 1 million followers, 883,000, and if you compare it with other regional organizations, for example, ASEAN has more, you know, uh, followers, for example. On Twitter, we have 182,000. Instagram, we have 145,000 followers. LinkedIn, nearly 100,000. In total, it's about 1.3 million altogether. If you combine all of this, that's 1.3. And then if you look at the surveys that have been done, of course, previously I wasn't with ASEC, but the first survey that was that awareness survey was in 2007, followed by 2014, and then we had one in 2018, okay, the last survey. And we can see the progression was slow. Like I think there's almost a universal knowledge about the term ASEAN. I think it's like 95 or 97% of all the sample. But if you dig deeper, like, do you really know what ASEAN is doing? Very few people, know that. But I think in the last survey, we've made some progression. I think it's a few points higher than the last one. So if for example, when the question, do you know the three pillars of ASEAN was asked, I think before only, let's say, 60% or below can correctly say. I think now it has moved a few points higher. So again, I'm not saying this is all because of the work that I did or my team did, because it's always a team effort. But I think if you put all of these efforts together, you see some progression. So there you go. I hope this trend will continue until ASEAN becomes, as ordinary, as like the soft drinks that people drink, or something like that.
Congratulations on that very successful endeavor. I know it's a very hard task to do and a commendable feat indeed. So we have to give you a round of applause and a pat in the back for that very hard work that you did for over a decade for ASEAN Secretariat. So to continue with our question, so how does your typical day look like as a professional? And how did it feel? And what surprised you about it?
Is it now or was it before?
You're still a consultant now, so
Okay.
you can also
All right.
include the previous one with
Okay.
as secretariat and then nowadays.
Okay. Well, of course, you know it. When you're part of this regional organization, life can be really, really hectic. So, I can say, when I was with ASEC, life to me was during the weekdays, somehow very regimented, because I would always wake up, let's say 5:30 in the morning, to say a prayer and just thank God that I'm up, and I'm breathing. And then, of course, do a little bit of stretching, exercise, because it's important, to take care of our health, to take care of our body. That's part of stewardship too. So I would always do some, push up or some exercises. It's just to maintain my stamina, etc. And then of course have a good breakfast. I wouldn't leave the house without filling my stomach. I don't know, that has been me. And then that's when I go to work, be there, and do my daily work. And to me, daily work is like management by walking around. I would go to every like style. How's our social media today? How's the gift shop? Hey, what's happening with our publications? And hey, what's any press release that needs to be cleared? Things like that. So it's pretty, I would say hectic, because everybody goes to us. Every division submits their press release, and with the social media, the work even, became more. because besides their usual press release, they would send us, social media content, which we need to, polish, provide some nice visuals. So I would say I had a really, really busy day until, the last day, it was very busy. Plus you have some events to manage, ASEAN Day, Expo, etc. So now, after ASEC, I thought that I would have more time for myself. I thought I would really, be able to go there, go to this mall that I want to see, visit that nice place, go to Boracay or Palawan, etc., etc. But but I realized, I, I still want to work, and that I get bored if I don't get to work. So thank God I have this consultancy. So it's still usually the same routine the first part of the day, you wake up and you celebrate your life, like, saying a prayer, and then I still get to do a bit of stretching, but now there is no, I think that the pressure is less, the tension is less, um, but I still am writing a lot of stuff, doing some creative thinking, etc., talking to a lot of people, coordinating, with some people. It's still a busy, I would say, still a busy day, but I'm happy that I get to be busy because others don't get to have this privilege, right? Either they're, bedridden or don't have anything to do. So to me, that's a blessing.
So what did your typical day make possible for you and your profession? For instance, do you have a routine?
Do I have what?
A routine.
Routine. Okay. Well, the routine for me is okay. I have to either read an inspirational piece or a devotional, or listen to something inspirational. To me, that's a routine. And then the physical, the main exercise, that's still a routine for me. And then reading, I still want to equip myself with some new, information, new knowledge. So I still do a lot of reading on the internet, and really catching up. In this age of digital era, a lot of new things are popping up. It's so hard to catch up, right? So I try to be up to date. I try to catch up, and I'm still learning some new skills. Recently, I subscribed to Skillshare because I want to learn some new stuff. So now I'm learning, graphic design because when I was the boss of this team, I just tell our graphic designer, do this, do that, do this. I want you to do this. But now I want to be able to understand really the technicalities, the creative part, and how to do it myself. So I'm learning. So now that's part of my routine. And then of course, time with the family. As I told you, it's important to have, you know, this network of support around you, including your own family. So I spend time with my own family, but also, my siblings. I still have my siblings here, my relatives. um yeah, I don't stop discovering and learning because um I don't think anybody's too old to learn, so that's what I'm doing now.
100% agree on that. So what words of wisdom have you learned from a family, friend, colleague, or mentor that you can impart to our viewers? And how did it change your life for the better?
Yeah, what I've learned really is, remember, I I want to make a difference in the lives of people, right? To make an impact. So what I've learned is that in order to achieve that, you need to be a remarkable person, you know? And be remarkable to me, it means that you are willing to do things that are not common, meaning you're willing to pay the price for excellence. You go the extra mile. You just don't settle for mediocrity, okay? And that you will not just conform with whatever the majority is doing, you know? So to be remarkable to me is to be extraordinary. It doesn't mean you have to be famous or to be popular, no. But it is, reaching that point where you are so good that people cannot ignore you. So, and what does it look like? Well, there are a few things. One, you need to respect everybody. Sad to say, I think this is no longer common. Common courtesy is no longer common. You probably noticed that, if you see people bashing other people on the internet, etc. And I think we need to revive that sense of respect, appreciation for the value, the uniqueness, the worth and dignity of other people because God made them too, right? And I think if we are respectful of others, I think this world would be much better, right? And even in ASEAN, remember, 10 member states, 10 different, you know, 10 different views, but I think the organization survived because of respect for differences, even celebrating difference. So for me, I have always believed that if we want God to bless our life, our career, we have to respect others because that means respecting God for creating those differences, right? And I think the second thing is to be a reliable person. It simply means to be trustworthy, It means being dependable, being, loyal and honest. And it is doing what you said you will do, right? It's being honest. And yeah, when you say, yeah, I'm committed to that, then do it. That's being what being reliable means. Because somebody said the greatest ability is dependability. You need to be a dependable person. And then, of course, to me, it's also important to be resourceful. Okay, because life is not perfect. It's not gonna be perfect, and we cannot wait for life to be all perfect in order, to find solutions to the many problems around us. We live in a broken world, and therefore there will always be problems. So I think the world now is better off because there are people who are resourceful. They look at the problems, they just didn't complain like what most people would do. When they see a problem, they complain. But resourceful people, when they see a problem, they find solutions to the problem. And I think if you do that, then you'll be a remarkable person. Remember, it's not about your resources, it's about your resourcefulness. Okay? And then finally, I think another important character is to be resilient. Okay? We all have problems. We all experience challenges. The difference is how we respond to failure or loss, right? A